All right, welcome back to Newsday. President Bola Tinubu promised to hit the ground running way before he was sworn in on May the 29th. It has not been a very smooth bedding down process, however. What with the ongoing legal challenge to his declaration as president and a series of obtrusive interventions by an economy on a free fall? But how has the president fared in the face of these difficulties? Opeyemi Alabi is a management consultant, and he joins us now to have an overview of the current government's performance for this far, rather. It's good to have you with us, Mr. Alabi. Now, if you can hear me, from the onset, subsidy removal, harmonized foreign exchange medium, palliative funds, as it were. Is this the way to go for the Tinubu presidency at this time, you think?
Good afternoon, Neyi.
All right, good afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, good afternoon, Neyi. Nice to be with you today. So the question is basically, what's the general overview so far of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, coming from the two bold moves he made, which is number one, removal of subsidy, and then the second one, harmonization of the exchange rates. So far, so good. I'm going to say one thing in Yoruba parlance. Yoruba says that Agbo ti enikonda agba oshikani, which means there are basically two sides to a story. Now, in this particular scenario, there's the side of the government and there's the side of the citizens. The government came and said they cannot afford subsidy again. And a lot of citizens don't even know what this really means. So all they know is that at the end of the day, this policy affected their daily lives, which includes increment in their logistical cost, devaluation of the naira, because the value of 1,000 this year is not the same as the value of 1,000 2 years ago. And then the government did another thing, which is harmonization of the exchange rate, which further also devalued the naira, taking naira now to around 900 naira to $1 on an import-dependent economy. The fallout of this is basically on the masses, which is basically at the lower level of Maslow hierarchy of needs. These are just people trying to survive. So on the part of the government, like I said, I'm going to take it from two angles. They are saying that this will help us to save costs in terms of removal of subsidy. We can channel the money saved from subsidy to other areas of the economy to make sure that it's bolstered at the seams. And the harmonization of the exchange rate will also help them to eliminate arbitrage. Meaning that arbitrage just basically means people that have access to official rates when it was pegged at over 400 and they sell it at a black market rate. So it will be unified. On the part of the citizens, what these two things did to them is it had an overall negative effect on their daily life, because it increased and it caused cost-push inflation. So what I see basically from the Tinubu administration is this: no matter how bold their moves are made, there's something I call administrative character, the way they react to things. Do they even take feedback? So the first one, they said they removed subsidy just on a whim. No plan, nothing. And then the people started shouting, it affected their lives. Now they are trying to put together subsidy. It shows a form of a reactive government, which is not really what we need right now. So I really hope that President Tinubu can take lessons from these two moves he has made, to look at it and say, before I make moves on behalf of the citizens, because as a leader of this nation, you are in charge of over 200 million lives and properties. You are in charge of over 200 million destinies. So before you make a move on behalf of them and tell them it's for their own good, learn how to carry them along. There's a nebulous way in which the government has been running the country for years, and it's not good. A lot of people don't even know the nitty-gritty of subsidy. There was a DSDP, direct sale, direct purchase agreement that was enacted around 2017 that included exchange of crude for finished products. So if you are talking about subsidy, how does that cascade over exchange of good, where all we are just going to be talking about is logistical cost? So how come we are still paying subsidy as if we are buying this PMS when it's just done as trade by barter? You know, there's a lot of vague areas, which is also what led to, if you remember last year, when they said they imported about 16 consortiums of oil, imported bad petrol into this country. It's because the crude that was given to them, they sold it, and when it was time for them to remit the PMS, they didn't have the money, so they bought substandard PMS. So because of all these things, the government has lacked trust. You know, in the citizens lack trust in the government based on their reality for so many years. So for them to continue to just be making brazen and bold moves without carrying the stakeholders of the country, which includes the citizenry, it's really not good. So whatever move they make, it might be good from their perspective. But when the fallout is not good, then they have to go around the table. Like Yorubas will say on there are several ways to do things.
This is a good place to interject because you're talking about the way the government receives feedback, and you also spoke about feedback a while ago.
Yes.
Our question to you is this.
Yes.
And this has been the body language of the APC administration now. This is not just talking about the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. We're talking about his predecessor, talking about Muhammadu Buhari. When people give feedbacks on how they are feeling, it is almost chalked down to politics that, oh, this person is not a supporter of the APC. That is why they are criticizing the government. How can we send a message to the government that they get to see it as it is, which is a message and a feedback from people that are gnashing their teeth right now, no thanks to several policies, as against seeing it as an opposition trying to pull them down?
Thank you so much for that critical question, Aaron. It's on us. The onus falls on the citizens to play our cards right. Like you rightly said, the preceding government of this one, which is also, they come from the same stock, APC, they have this kind of attitudinal relationship with the people, which means we do things we just follow, more like a covert authoritarian rule. But like you rightly said, how do we do this? Number one, when we are talking about the Nigerian population, do we even really know what it means? The median age, according to Worldometrics, of Nigeria today is 17.2%. What that translates to is that we have over half of the citizenry 17 years and lower. So the people that are supposed to be responsible for proper and accurate feedback system are between the age of, like, let's say 25 to 50. And if you take a look at this population arrangement, most of us are not even in the country. A lot of us that are still in the country are still thinking of even leaving. So there's this slipshod attitude of Kokomi. I'm not really interested in this. They would not listen. But if all of us takes a leave out of this country, who will stay and repair it? And how will it be repaired? You said one thing now. I take it back to the laws of physics, which means I think Newton's second law of motion, which states that everything will continue in a linear form, in a linear motion, unless compelled by an external force to act otherwise. This government will continue to do what they do until we confront them with a feedback, non-violent of course, and say, you know what, this is not working. And how can we do that? Number one, we are divided along the ethnic lines, religious lines, and whatever prejudice that we are really feeding into from the media space. And I think it's high time we take a look at these things that divide us and throw it away, because when you drive into the petrol station, they won't ask you if you're a Yoruba or an Hausa man or you're an Igbo man or you are a Muslim, Christian or a traditionalist. All these issues are confronting us first as human beings, then as citizens, then as people. So we have to take a look at all the things that divide us and say, okay, you know what? The overwhelming majority of Nigerians cannot even afford to earn $200 a month. And if this government is doing this, the government is doing this because the majority of the people that surround the governance of this country are amongst the elite. If you want to understand this better, take a look at how much they sell political party forms, even to the level of House of Rep. We're talking about 10 million naira. How many people's salary is up to 10 million naira a year? So the masses are not well represented. It's basically a government of the elite, by the elite, and for the elite. But the conundrum and a perfect oxymoron is this: 90% of these people, of Nigerians, are not even part of the elite. So we make up the whole population, the market, and the market should always have a say. So in order to do this, number one, we have to set aside our differences and have some level of common sense. For once, it's not about tribe. It's not about religion. You are first a human being before all these other factors fall into place. The life you are living today, is it what you think you deserve? If the answer is no, then we have to harmonize ourselves and play our cards properly and let the government knows that this is not actually working. And when you tell somebody something is not working, I have this saying, and I'm not sorry to say it. I'm more like a fashionista, so I like fashion designers. I have a lot of them. From my own anecdotal experience, when I give a fabric to a designer and it's not good enough, then I'll be forced to be pointing out his mistakes and probably making corrections. A lot of people today that didn't study economics, because of the ineptitude of handling the economy, a lot of us have been trying to read up on economics, econometrics, and what to do to move this country forward. And some of us have already come up with a plan. So as we are telling the government that their approach is not working, we show them why it's not working, so that they will not have this opportunity to politicize agony. which is more like a psychopathic way of taking a look at feedback. When your citizens are telling you something, they say, oh, it's because you are an affiliate of this person, you are affiliate of that person. And then we have three types of citizens in this country. I've taken a look at it. The first citizens are the citizens that are directly or indirectly benefiting from the decadence of the system. Well, I don't blame those guys. They're actually benefiting from the ills of the society. The second category of citizens are the people that are not benefiting whatsoever, but they will find any justifiable reason to justify their pain. And the third category of citizens are people that have already taken a look at this country, have seen an alternative approach to governance, and believe that things should not be hard the way it is. So the onus lies on this third category of citizens to educate the second category of citizens so that they will not be maligned by religion, tribe, ethnicity, and what have you. So we need to take a look at these problems first that are causing this division, so that we need a mental revolution first before we can talk about playing our cards right. Until we get this right, then I think it will continue in perpetuity, like the second law of Newton says.
Indeed. And on that note, the element of trust, as you say, is a major ingredient, which is a social contract between the government and, of course, the electorate. We'd like to thank you for your perspective on those issues. Opeyemi Ajayi, Opeyemi Alabi, I'm sorry about that. I'd like to thank you for your perspective on that. It's good to have you with us.